Okay, so I have been on the Omnipod 5 system for the last about 3 months, and it's been a roller coaster to say the least. I'll be honest, my first month on this system was an absolute nightmare. The Omnipod 5 system is sort of known for needing time to get to know your daily insulin needs and be correctively adaptive given those needs. And I knew I was in for a bit of a steep learning curve here, and I could sort of get a taste for that in the first week vlog, but I had no idea quite how difficult it was going to be. My biggest issue was that I was running high all the time. I could not sort of, through the automated system, it probably would have had me sit around 200 if I hadn't have been aggressively correcting, which is what I was told to do, aggressively correct, or correct at least, so that the system gets to know your total daily dose, approximate insulin needs, and that's what it uses to give you that adaptive basal. However, at the end of each day, I was looking at the system and seeing that I was being given kind of 25 to 30% less insulin than I was used to taking, which kind of shocked me, but didn't at all because I was running high, so of course. But that really alarmed me. And before you tell me I didn't have my target glucose range set correctly, it was set at 110 across the board, 24 hours a day. Overnight, during the day, my target glucose was 110. And you can adjust that, 110 being the lowest, but you can have it 120, 130, 140, etc., etc. You can have that target anywhere you want it to be, but my goodness, I have no idea what it would have been like if my target was above, because I was dancing in these high levels, especially overnight, where I would wake up around 160, and I was just like, what? And that happened consistently. No matter how many pods I changed, I was at this 160 overnight mark. And I was just so frustrated by that because I'm sleeping. I'm not getting up and correcting overnight, although sometimes I did if I went up to go to the bathroom or whatever. But those were my biggest issues. Running high all the time, high overnight, and around like the 140 mark, my basal rate would just cut out. And you can see these red lines on the graph where it's suspended the basal because it predicts you're about to go low. But I would hit 140, it'd suspend, and I'd be swinging right back up 200 and above. So at the 1 month mark and seeing this happening and really none of this showing any signs of improvement, I was at my wit's end. And the only thing that kept me going was I had committed to a 3-month supply at least, purchasing that through my insurance and filling that prescription. And B, I loved the tubeless aspect of it, and I really wanted to make that work. I started thinking, I'm gonna reset the system. Like last ditch attempt, I'm gonna reset the algorithm. I could find very little information online about what it's been like when people have reset their algorithm in order to achieve better control. And that's why I want to share it here. However, I'm not a doctor, and what I did was highly unadvisable, apparently. So I can't stress that enough, but it changed the game for me, so I want to share it. But at the same time, please, 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 do not do what I did. My reasoning was the Omnipod 5 was giving me about 25 to 35% less insulin than I was normally taking on the T-Slim pump, which I had very good control on. And I logged into Gluco and I could see those numbers just being so low. And I was like, I know I need more insulin than this. And I reset the algorithm, and when I put in my initial basal rates, I exaggerated them or increased them by about 35–40%. Now, I know, not advisable, not advisable, not advisable. But this was last ditch attempt territory. And I sort of thought Omnipod 5 is so good at avoiding lows that I kind of feel like it's gonna be semi-okay. But let me tell you, once I reset the PDM and started with those way more aggressive basal rates, bada bing. So good. Now, of course, it hasn't been perfect by any stretch, but I feel like this thing is on my side and working with me as opposed to against me. And I've been like in excellent range ever since that happened. Now, I will say, I took that basal rate and I created a second profile with my actual basal rate so that if I ever went into manual mode, I would not be switching into that crazy aggressive basal rate setting. That was just my jumping off point for the reset. Again, I don't know if this would work for everyone. I don't know if this was necessary. Maybe if I stayed on my current settings, it would at month 3 be far more correct, or I'd be in a better state. But within like the first 2-3 pods, I was in the place that I wanted to be in with those way more aggressive basal rates, which is the jumping off point for the system to learn your total daily dose insulin and then adapt within that. And funnily enough, I am taking about 25 to 35% less than that more aggressive basal rate, but that's bringing me into what I normally would have, as opposed to when I started off with my regular rates and it being 25 to 35% less of that, if that makes sense. I wanted to fight for the system to work, and I did, and it does. I'm just very aware that it's quite an aggressive move, but at the same time, like, I was in a really tough spot, and this sorted it out for me, so I kind of want to share that. Still battling a few overnights where I'm like in the 130s, 140s, and I'm like, no, just sit at 110. Like, why the heck aren't we sitting at 110? So I'm still kind of ironing out things. It's not like I've been in the perfect place, but also we're dealing with diabetes. It never wants to be in the perfect place. I also know we're all different, and so some people might start on the Omnipod 5 system and be like, this is bada bing, perfect. And some people might get 3 or 4 pods in and think, okay, yep, we've hit the mark here. And this is why I make this channel, and this is why I find sometimes being a type 1 diabetic, getting word of mouth from other type 1 diabetics is the best way in some ways to get your information. Not totally, obviously, by a long shot. But like, my doctor would have never done this for me or advised me to go in this direction. But my doctor would want me to have this kind of control. So I've gotten there, and I'm, continuing to strive for better and better and better control as much as possible, yada yada. But yeah, sometimes it's a little frustrating that you have to go to these kind of corners of the internet where you sort of feel like you're having to whisper to get the information that you need to live your best life, which is why ultimately I wanted to share this with you guys. I'm sure I will do more updates, more content on the Omnipod 5 to come. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Hit me up down below. But that is my 3-month update, and I'm very happy, very happy with the system, but it took a while to get there. I'm wishing you a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. I wish you great blood sugar, straight CGM lines, insulin pumps that work to how you want them to work. But most of all, I wish you a happy, healthy mind with it all. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.